Hi, I'm Tori Nook. Welcome back to the Tori Nook Talk Show, where we have meaningful conversations with inspiring leaders, entrepreneurs, healers, creatives, and visionaries who are making an impact in the world. I'm your host, Tori Nook, and I'm very excited to be welcoming our guest, Mandy McAllister, who is the co-founder of GoBundance Women. She's also a multifamily real estate investor, mindset leader, connector, and I should also say podcaster too, right? You have a
That's
great
true.
podcast. I love it, actually. So, and today we're going to dive deep into how she spent the bulk of her career in medical device sales and then chasing cases and commission checks before she even made this big shift into the world of investment real estate. And she owns all types of different properties. And in 2021, she wound up leaving her W 2 job and she wanted to really lean into what a lot of people want to do, which is have financial independence. And Mandy, therefore, started building her real estate portfolio. And now, even today, she serves as the co founder of GoBundance Women. And it's a tribe of healthy, wealthy, and generous women who choose to lead epic lives. If you've not checked them out, I highly recommend checking it out. She's also the co host of Power Up Your Life. It's a top 100 podcast dedicated to defining needle moving strategies for investors, business owners, and executives. Her real estate expertise includes repositioning underperforming assets to increase cash flow and value. And her portfolio right now is made up of 373 doors, including B class workforce housing, furnished student housing, and motel repositioning. So I am very happy to have you here on the show. And I should also probably mention that you're like me, your mom to a 9-year-old, Duncan. And you're also married too.
Yep.
So you've got a lot going on.
And bonus mom to two more, a 16 and a 12.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's
Nice.
summer right now that we're filming this, and there is full
Yeah,
chaos in the
full,
house.
full. I mean, we have a lot of, I would say we're definitely two intense women with a lot going on. But
I
keeping it
love it.
together, but keeping it together. I'm
Right.
so happy you made the time to come on today because you've been very inspiring to me. I recently just met you at Beth Azor's event in person, but I've been following you probably at least the past year or two because of Beth Azor telling me about GoBundance Women, following them, following the podcast, obviously following you, what you're doing in social media. And usually, what I like to do when I start the podcast is just like unpacking, like, where are you from? Where'd you go to college?
Sure.
What's
Start
your
at the
background?
beginning.
Yeah,
I love
what's a
it.
quick beginning?
Well, I'm a farm kid from small town central Illinois. My town literally had 800 people in it, and my
Wow.
graduating class was 26 kids. The same 26 kids I went to kindergarten with, I graduated high school with. So one of my like life punchlines is I finished high school third, which means I wasn't top 10%, which is kind of amazing.
That's
And
so
because of
funny.
that, like I craved anonymity and like coming from the farm, like I knew I wanted free college, right? So when I played volleyball and I ended up, relaying that into a scholarship at a little school in Georgia called Mercer. And then as soon as I finished that degree there, like literally the day after I finished at Mercer in Macon, Georgia, I moved to Chicago because again, I knew I needed to be in a city. And I've been in Chicagoland since 2002. Uh,
Wow. How far away was your town from Chicago or the nearest biggest city?
3 hours. It was like you didn't go to the city. Like you drove 30 minutes to buy a gallon of milk on the
Wow.
farm.
Wow. So what
So
kind of farm was it?
well, my dad still farms. He's 72. I'm trying to talk him out of it. He's mostly corn and soybeans. He
Okay.
does some cattle to keep himself
Mhm.
busy, but it's the average age of the American farmer is approaching 60 years old, Tori. Like this is something that we don't talk about in America that we should, I think.
Yeah, for sure, because I don't want to that's a whole other podcast is how our food is killing us in the US. I feel so much better when I'm anywhere but here. Eating wise. But and feeling good wise. But anyways, I agree. And there's a lot to learn from a farm. I grew up not on a farm, but I rode horses growing up. And I felt that, taking care of animals, being in a competitive setting too, really helps you like set the framework for, what you're doing later in life too.
I also think the way it informs my investing is the recognition that cycles are a thing.
Yeah.
Like I think especially in the multifamily sector where I mostly play,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
things bubbled up, and
Yeah.
to think that that goes on forever, to think that cycles aren't a thing is like believing Tuesdays will stop happening,
Right.
and they keep happening.
Right. And that is really interesting because even though we say your father was a farmer, but he's also a businessman because when you're a farmer, you're
Right.
in business, right? And
Mhm.
you're looking at cycles, something that shaped you in your early childhood. And my father was also in business and my mom worked with him, and I saw the ups and downs of owning a business and the cycles of even the economy too because of them and the dinner table talk and whatnot. So it's something where when I feel like I don't know how you feel, but when you're an adult, it doesn't scare you as much because you kind of lived it in your childhood or and got like not lived it the way we live it now as pure adults, but you got a taste of nothing's ever streamlined.
Right. There's an inoculation of sorts. My mom
Exactly.
was also self-employed, so this go figure it out, like the willingness to figure it out that I have,
Right.
that I don't think everybody had. And when I was in medical device sales, that was a thing that I really coveted in a teammate was that figure it out gene. I think coming
Yeah,
from self-employed parents definitely nurtured that.
for sure. I know you describe yourself as like a mindset ninja, which I love and connector. What was always like the part of you who was there like a part of you where like where do those gifts really develop like in your career and life experiences?
So I ripped my ACL in high school, junior year of high school, which is that big recruiting year if you know any college or high
Mhm.
school athletes that want to play in college. So
Yeah.
88 Division 1 schools went to 4, right? Like and I the ability to be up against something that's difficult, some adversity, and then need
Mhm.
to, change how you're looking at that situation to find the silver lining like that when I say mindset ninja, it's just like my kind of silly thing that I made up. It's this idea that you can always change something, the way you look at something to make it serve you. So,
Right.
we were talking before we got on here about, being female real estate investor speakers. We could say, oh no, there's so few girls in this room. I need to stay in the corner. Or we could realize that boys as smart as you and I are don't get as many opportunities to speak because you and I look different. Which way
Right.
are you going to choose to look at the situation?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I like that because I think that people think to be in certain levels in life, like you have to go to a certain school, you got to come from a certain family. And none of that is true at all. I mean, we don't live in a country where there's a caste system or something. I mean, that's the wonderful part of being in the US is you're so free, right? You can free to do whatever you want. You come from anywhere, no one cares. Go do what you
I think
want. And you have to be the
I
smartest
saw
person
some
in your life.
absolutely. I think I
You
saw something that of the Fortune 500, the most represented alma mater of the
Mhm.
CEOs was like University of Wisconsin. Like not throwing shade at Wisconsin, but it's not Harvard.
No. No,
It's not
right. No, I
Brown.
understand.
It's
Yeah.
these Midwestern
Mhm.
hardworking people that figure things out and just are willing to fail forward.
Exactly, exactly. Before you even gone into real estate, you were in medical sales, which is a great job. I mean, it's a coveted job for some to get into. Like, what was your life like then versus now?
Well, another kind of hilarious punchline to my life is when I was in undergrad, like the smart kids from the small town that were good
Mhm.
at science become doctors, period, end of story. So I
Right.
was like told that I was going to be a doctor. And I realized that, oh, I probably need to talk to a doctor if I'm going to commit my life to have my first job at the age of 30, and I ended up happening into a cardiologist who was, I guess, having a bad day and said, you better love medicine because you're going to be a slave to this beeper. You're going to be a slave to this pager. So you
Yeah.
better love medicine if you get into it. So it's funny that I changed to the business school right
Mhm.
after that. I didn't go to med school because I didn't want to be on call. And then I ascended this ladder of medical device sales such that I was
Right.
on call, right? It
Right.
just, it was such a wild thing, which is the whole impetus for why I decided to lean into real estate in the first place.
And when you left your W-2 job and leaned into like financial independence that you built through real estate, like what really gave you, like my biggest question, like I think for anybody is like, what gives you the courage to pivot and make that leap? Like, what was the final straw? Because you were making good money. I mean, you were in medical device sales, you had a solid career. And then
Yeah.
you're going into a career doing something that's very different.
You know, this is kind of a whole, so my master's is economics. So I have a lot of
Mhm.
these theories that are just
Yeah.
kind of things that I ruminate on. I love this idea of building a floor of income. The
Mhm.
thing that gave me the bravery to leave my W-2 is I did the math. Right. And I realized that, okay, the 300 grand a year, I don't need that to live the life that I've developed for myself. Yes, it helps me save my face off and buy more assets. But what I need to live my life is something very different. I actually made a calculator that helped me figure that out, which I'll give a link to any listener who wants to try it out for themselves. But if you just come up with a cash flow that is predictable and it's steady and it's likely to be coming in as sure as it could possibly be, once you hit that floor of income plus a little buffer, it becomes easier to bet on yourself.
Oh, that is really interesting. I like that because I think a lot of people don't realize that sometimes it is just like basic math to figure out how you're going to pivot, right? I mean, you don't
Yeah.
have to have like some crazy calculator, right, to do
Well,
it.
it's not. It's just a little spreadsheet that helps you put your stuff in. I always say that whenever you got a problem, the
Mhm.
easiest way to solve the problem is to put more
Mhm.
truth to the problem. And there's nothing more truthful than a number, So if you just make the math, then it's
Mhm.
very clear on the thing you need to shoot for.
Did you start doing it, the investing while you were still working in medical sales, or did you literally do like a hard stop and just start investing that first year?
I
Like,
had a
not saying you had time off, but
No, I had a full runway. I had hit the number that I needed to see, that floor of income, to be
Mhm.
willing to leave that W-2. I actually was first interested in real estate investing in college and didn't do anything with it until I was 35,
Oh,
right? But
okay.
I had built up enough of a cash flow that I had fulfilled that floor of income. And as soon as I fulfilled that floor of income, I made the announcement that I was going to be leaving that job.
Gotcha. And how long did that take you?
Honestly, a lot of it was because my timing was really kismet, like
Yeah.
that run up in that we had with the super low interest rates. It took me
Yeah.
about 5 years. And that's really with personal capital and with joint venture structures with a couple of partners. There aren't a ton of assets that I've raised capital on.
I see.
Because I wanted to know I could do it on my own first.
Okay. That's like, and I like that you did partner because a lot of people are scared of partners, which they should be, especially because I mean, I'm invested in two buildings with horrible people, where I've never seen a dime or financial statements or anything. But I'm also in investments with amazing people where I made a ton of money, like
Yeah.
30% plus returns, right?
Right.
And I think that there's nothing definitely to fear as long as you're with the right people to learn from to do it. Like you don't have to just learn on your own because like right now, how many properties do you even own just 100% on your own?
Um, like 4 assets are
Hmm.
just me,
Okay.
and then 4 other assets are me and some partners, right?
Okay.
So my entire portfolio, you hear 370 whatever units, and you think it's a
Right.
boatload, but it's really just like in total 8 assets that I have to
Gotcha.
keep my eyes on, you know?
Yes. That, but it's still a full-time job though, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but I think if I'm being really honest with myself, I've made more work for myself than I needed to. I'm actually in process of drafting a book. We were talking about this offline too. Of,
Yeah,
yes, it's how much money does it make you, but it's how much brain space does it cost you?
right.
I realized through the GoBundance stuff, the people who
Mhm.
were making the most money had some sort of operational business. So when multifamily stopped penciling, I bought a car wash and a motel, and the amount of time I spend in a day on the long-term holds that are the bulk of what pays for me to live my life, it's like that's a very tiny little fraction. But what I put all of my brain space into is the car wash and the motel.
Interesting. Would you ever buy more of those types of assets again, or would you just stick with multifamily?
Well, I'm actually under contract to sell the car wash, and if I wanted my husband to divorce me, I would buy another one, right? Just it really I realize though, Tori, that we are solving a $3.75 problem. And if you're
Yeah.
going to solve a $3.75 problem, you're going to get $3.75 clients,
Yeah.
and the irrationality that comes with solving little
Oh,
problems, like the amount of brain space is the same to solve that $3.50 problem as $1 million problem,
right.
so I have realized that that is not for me.
I like how you compared that because I think not until I hit my 40s did I realize how important brain space is. Because I used to, even as a broker, just take on so many clients. And now I'm like, oh no, like it's only the ones making me the most money who I like to work with, who are intelligent. And when problems hit, it's something like we can all figure out in rational order, right? Not in sheer chaos. Like I didn't sign up to be a psychotherapist, and also dealing with small, people who aren't really making me the living that I need in the consistent business. So
Right.
I think the
You
same
just
goes
need
for
to
assets.
know. It's hard to say no, though,
Right.
and when you're growing into something, you feel
Totally.
like you need to say yes to everything, and that's true. Like,
Everything.
a lot of cool stuff has happened in my life because I just say yes,
Right.
but at some point you realize you
Mhm.
gotta draw some boundaries around that time and decide what to say no to, and one kinda easy way to draw a line through stuff is, how much brain space does it cost me?
Exactly. And I love that. What do you think women need to understand about building wealth that maybe they never were taught growing up? Because I feel like so much of what we do, especially in real estate, you're just, unless you're going to get your, I guess, maybe degree in it. I don't know. I don't feel like I learned a lot in college, but even getting a business degree. But what do you think they need to know? Because they're not going to learn it in school.
I think the primary difference between women and men, it's kind of a nature nurture thing, right? Like, there was an incredible TED talk called "Girls Are Taught to Be Perfect, Boys Are Taught to Be Brave." And if you spend all your time working to be perfect and raising your hand, and if you are a high performing girl or woman, you're probably a high performing girl, right? And you did everything right and you waited your turn. And all of the chores were do it right here next to me. And if you're a
Right.
boy, it's go out and mow the yard and figure it out for yourself and take some risk, right? It's
Yeah.
just the way the world turns. And because of that, boys growing into men are more willing to take a risk because that's how they've been nurtured. I
Right.
think the primary thing is the analysis paralysis that comes with this need to be perfect. Because if you've been awarded and patted on the head for having
Right.
achieved perfection every step of the way, to invest, to become an entrepreneur is inherently leaning into failure. Right? It's
Right.
the
Right.
opposite of what gave you the high five growing up, right? So, actually, there's a book that I love so much. We put it in the GoBundance welcome packets for new GoBundance Women members. It's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And my favorite takeaway from that is that I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be reasonable enough. And that little reframe, that little mindset ninja is the thing that gets me into, letting go of the need to be perfect as an
Hmm.
investor. So what I would love if I had a billboard for ladies, lady investors, you do not need to be perfect. You just need to be reasonable enough.
Right. I love it. I actually, funny enough, just did a video for social media about you got to throw perfect out the window and there's never a good time for anything ever. Because I was the same way. I was a perfectionist growing up too. And I think that's how society makes you feel that you have to be that way. and it's, you know, we're going to be perfect. Um, let's jump into GoBundance Women and the power of this amazing community. I wanted to start with, for people who don't know it, just give a quick background of how it started and then how you got involved as well as a co-founder.
Sure. It's the tribe of healthy, wealthy, generous women who choose to lead epic lives.
Yeah.
It was actually started as a men's group. A couple of guys who were real estate agents were accountability buddies and went on cool vacations, and a bunch of people wanted to go on those trips with them. So in the 90s, they started selling memberships to GoBundance, and it was a dudes only thing because it used to piss me off, candidly, Tori, that it was dudes only because I tried to join in 2017 and it was still
Okay.
men's only. But now that I'm as close to it as I am, I realize that there's a different level of vulnerability that you'll
Hmm.
go deeper. I will go deeper on my fear of failing as a mother when
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just the ladies in the room. And that is a really important, necessary thing to figure out how to deal with,
For sure.
and that doesn't happen if there's dudes in the room. And there is the opposite side of that coin that happens at the men's events. Right.
Yeah.
So in 2019, 2020, the women's division spun off. Some men who are leaders of women and incredible cheerleaders of women realized that, oh wait, we're not serving women in this equation here. So they opened up the door for Kelly Resendez to take over as the kind of primary founder, and I joined her to kind of help cheerlead things, because this, I know for certain I would not have found the bravery to leave my W-2 without other women who've done big things next to me. Because the people who loved me saw me leaving as a single mom, a $250,000, $300,000 a year job, to you're going to do what?
Right.
And they were loving me from where they were at, not where
Yeah.
I saw I could go. And I
Mm.
saw in this group of women where I could go. So I know for certain that being next to other people doing bigger things than me is the reason that I've grown further faster.
I agree. And I was just having this conversation with someone about how I see the power of when I've been to like Best events and when Azores, you know, Women's Summit every year, and, you know, just even going to Globe Street. And I'm part of quote unquote other women's groups, but they allow men in. And that just, even that one or two, even though I love men, I'm married, I've got two boys, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at without many amazing men. But there's something about that community, just like a men's group wouldn't want women there, like, because there's men are from Mars, women are for Venus, right? We're different, and we want to be in the same rooms with the same like kind people, right? And that's what I think. And I'm really excited that I'm going to be starting with GoBundance August 1st. And what do you think the biggest part from like a traditional networking group or business master, because you're also like a master, you're a mastermind too, like,
Yeah, we are.
do you feel the biggest difference is because it is women only, that you actually do sell it that way and you truly are that? Or
There is occasional overlap. Don't get me wrong. I can't do multifamily deals without a bro in the room. I know that. I love my business partners who are dudes, and I'm also a mom of boys and married to a man.
yeah, yeah.
So I think the thing that is most powerful, if you see it, you can be it. I
Mhm.
think the a thing that is less obvious to in my experience of this world as a female is when I see women doing things, I know
Mhm.
that I too can do that. So
Right.
being next to other women specifically, and honestly, the being in a successful relationship takes a different version of me than being successful in business, and learning how to navigate between those two things is also something that only high performing business owner women or investor women would have to deal with. So I like not feeling crazy, Tori, because I work in this basement and I just go, oh my God, I hope it works. And
I know.
I'm groping into the night, and being next to other leaders, being next to other women that I admire, that's the thing that gets me further faster.
I agree, and I think the energy is spinning off being in the right rooms with the right people. Like, you want to be X, you got to surround yourself with X, right?
Like, mhm.
um, what do you think the biggest transformations have been that you've witnessed in women once they find a right community like GoBundance?
The
that
the
you've seen
wild
come?
thing is, I'm cognizant, or we as a leadership team are cognizant that, people want their ROI. And we
Mhm.
are here to help you scale your business. We have power up your business calls, and we want to help you figure out how to scale without sacrifice. But in terms of like the biggest transformations, it's always the thing you didn't think you needed. We have one
Interesting.
member who uh another member has a chakra, something to tap into who you are and where your power is. And
Mhm.
that saved her marriage. Well, you don't
Interesting.
sign up for a women's business mastermind to save your marriage. I didn't sign up to leave my W-2, but I found the bravery to do it because I saw other women doing things. What I'll
Right.
say is, in general, we work hard to make sure that women have the resources that they need, the no BS content, the no BS filter to bounce off of other people that happens in your pod. Because we definitely shut down. Like, I was worried being part of a girls group. Like, we work in boys clubs, right? Like, sometimes you think of doing things next to other girls and you think cattiness. And that is, we shut that down 100%. We are the good old girls club that's here to wingman each other. You get two arms for a reason, one to pull yourself up and one to pull other people up with you. And we are here to figure out how to move each other forward and share resources in the process.
Right, because sometimes I think what's good that comes from that is so many successful women still feel like they have to prove themselves. And I feel that you don't need to prove yourself to external people. Like, you just really need to prove yourself to yourself, right? And within reasonable limits. And I think Go Abundance helps you frame those reasonable limits and where you could go and milestones to achieve, where you're not going to
Yeah.
get that
I think
really.
too that when I bought my first 53 unit apartment complex, like literally that same night we had like a block party in my
Right.
neighborhood. And I was so excited. And I told my neighbor, like, oh yeah, we just closed on this 53 unit apartment. Me and two dudes closed on this 53 unit apartment building. And she's like, oh, must be nice, because where she's coming from, like, that is not something that is ever going to be a possibility. And I am thrilled for her to live her beautiful life in exactly the way she wants to. And
Right.
it's just different from how I
Right.
want to live mine. So if I'm going to be next to people who the way I want to live my life is wild and crazy, then I'm going to get responses like that, because that's where they're coming from. If I'm next to other women who are living wild and crazy, then I feel reasonable again.
Right. Exactly. And what's nice is like you start choosing to. Like it sounds like you're not chasing, like you're choosing your lifestyle and how to lead it, and you're around other women who know and how to get there too. In a decently, I'd say, calm manner, right? So I think that's what communities give you is perspectives you've never thought of
Right,
before.
exactly.
Like, because you don't know what you don't know. Um, and when did you guys decide to launch the Power Up Your Life podcast that you co-host?
It was a little over a year ago. And one thing that made us want to do that was a lot of podcasts. I'm sure you've listened to some.
Yeah,
I used
I'm
to
a
be
little bit of a
poor, but
junkie.
now I'm rich, is the overarching. Like, I don't necessarily give a flip of that you were rags and now you're riches. I want to know that messy middle. Like, give me something actionable. Give me something needle moving, to, like, when you feel stuck, when you have a full anxiety attack because you
Mhm.
are an entrepreneur and everything depends on you and your decisions. How do you deal with that? Because that is 100% going to be happening if you choose the life of an entrepreneur, you know?
I mean, being the life of an entrepreneur is just like being a parent. It's just like being married. Like, you do not have a handbook.
Right.
And and what's, I think, even scarier sometimes being an entrepreneur is your life's on the line that's supporting your family too.
Right.
And a lot of other, and you have people who work for you as well. Most people do. That you're supporting that, them and their families. So it's a lot. I know you've had some really great guests, business owners and executives that have been on the show. What have you learned from interviewing and speaking with so many high level leaders and entrepreneurs? Because I feel like
Yeah.
I learn a lot having the podcast.
Oh, 100%. That's like the biggest reason to do it almost.
Pretty much.
The founder of Priceline was on, and I was sitting in my 18-room motel. And he's
Okay.
talking about how he created the kiosk where you check yourself in at the airport. He
Yeah.
solved problems for billions of people, right? And I'm
Yeah.
solving a problem for 18 people, right?
Right.
So that is a big piece of right back to that. I'm solving $3.75 problems.
Right. Right.
So the direction, the thing that I've learned and how I'm spending my time and how I'm working to spend my time, because she a work in progress, people. She ain't
Right.
there yet, you know,
Right.
is I'm working to identify bigger problems that I could solve that feel worthy of my brain space, you know, because that $3.75 problem is not necessarily worth it to me anymore.
Right. No, I agree 100%. Um, because do you, what is like the common theme that you've noticed too among like the people who create extraordinary results in their lives?
Wildly, and actually maybe not wildly,
Mhm.
it always comes back to working on you first. It
Mm,
always comes back to you cannot scale your net worth past your self-worth. You
right.
cannot do
Love it.
anything until you figure out you in a way to move something forward. So end of day, the more I can figure out me, it's like the
Yeah.
whole meaning of life thing, right? Like
Yeah.
the more I figure out me, the more everything else around me grows
Mhm.
and is better.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is so crazy how that is the underlying theme of a lot of our conversations. One more, we talk a lot about, you know, if you're stuck or if you're unclear, because that's a major theme of at least my life as an entrepreneur. Like, okay, what do I do next? You know, and a lot
Always.
of that is getting quiet, listening. Like we sprint at 1,000 miles an hour, and if you're not willing to take the time to meditate, do yoga, do the things that it takes to get quiet enough to hear the little messages. You know,
Right.
somebody once said, you know, praying is like telling God what you want, and meditation is listening for the answer. And
It's
I
true.
loved that because
So true.
I get these epiphanies, these downloads when I'm doing the things that allow me to just be clear and quiet. You know, so whatever that thing is for you, I hope you find it.
What do you do to stay grounded and to meditate? Because it's hard for a lot of people to meditate and get quiet. I mean, what's your method for
Uh,
yourself?
My sweet husband teases me all the time that like I don't shut down. Like I think it's such an entrepreneur thing that I also really
Yeah.
love all of the things that I do. So it's also kind of
Right.
like a hobby, you know? So I don't
Right.
feel taken advantage of when I go do the thing that I love, you know? But what I do also find is my favorite yoga studio in my area has
Mhm.
you know, a class that is really just slow stretching and sound bath.
Okay.
Once for an hour a week, and the more quiet I can make it's wild that I have to go lay down in a room with strangers to shut off my brain, you know, but that is the formula for me. I've also found that walks, just going on like active moving meditation stuff. So my dog
Mhm.
loves that I've started doing this, so after dinner
I
we go
bet.
on a long walk, and it's crazy how that brings up good ideas. But you know, I almost have to outsmart myself. Like I always say, 90% of my life is figuring out how to outsmart myself,
Right.
and getting those things on the calendar so that I don't miss them is the way of getting around anxiety stuff.
Oh, yeah, I love that though, because you're forced to, when you're outsmarting yourself, like going to that yoga class, like you can't bring your phone in.
Right.
So you can't have because what you can't have a thought and think, I'm going to read a book and relax, but then you have a thought and you're going to your phone to text someone something and then you're off over here, you know?
Squirrel. Yes, I'm with you.
um, so, being a mom, how do you feel that that has shaped you, in the way you think about time, wealth, and legacy? Like, do you feel like you really changed, like, after, because I felt like after I had my first, like, and then I even changed more, over the years too, having a child, it changes the way you think. I felt less
100%.
selfish.
So I mentioned that I had the idea to be a real estate investor in college,
Mhm.
and I didn't do anything with it till I was 35. Well, the
Right.
thing that happened when I was 35 is I had a baby, and I realized that this is not a dress rehearsal, and you only get one big, beautiful life. And if this
Yeah.
is the thing that matters to me, I better get going because time
Right.
is a ticking, right? And I bought a fourplex when my kiddo was brand new, and then a
Okay.
sixplex, and then just up from there. So the thing that primarily changed me is it gave me more courage to act.
Mhm.
It gave me I remember negotiating the property management agreement as I'm like holding a 1 week old, and I'm like, oh my God, I can do anything. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so certain I can do anything in the whole world. Yeah, so
Right.
that was wild. And then I remarried a couple of years ago and got to become bonus mom to
Right.
a 12-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl. And the opportunity to, they're both amazing kiddos, but I
Yeah.
didn't get to make a girl.
Yeah.
So to get to show her. So last summer we converted a 1 bedroom unit in one of our properties to be a furnished rental. And
Okay.
she came with me, and for 48 hours, we worked our faces off. And not only did I got to show her that you can make a boatload of money if you
Mhm.
work really hard on one thing that has a big result
Mhm.
versus like she made the same amount of money working for me for 48 hours that she would have made in an entire summer at Smoothie King, you
That's a good
know?
lesson
Well, it,
for
it
her.
was, and I needed the help. So it filled a
Right.
need for me. It was an opportunity to work really closely with her, and it
Mhm.
hopefully taught her to choose where you invest your time, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Exactly. Because I love that even your son, your little Duncan, wants to be a real estate investor when he grows up. I mean, what do you think? What do you hope that he's at his age? He's not a teenager. I mean, that he's learning from you right now, like the way you live and how you're building your life.
This is actually so great. So the first thing he wanted to do on summer break this year was he did a lemonade. He wanted to do a lemonade stand, and
Mhm.
he's got a little buddy. His dad owns a bunch of storage facilities in our area, and so
Okay.
he's like, "Mom, I got to have Colin over. We got to do our business planning." And I'm like, I am brainwashing this child. So I mean, he sees the freedom that can come from
Mhm.
growing something and taking that full responsibility for something, which,
Mhm.
I'm hopeful he makes a choice of what he wants to do for his life, more
Yeah.
informed than I was told to go be a doctor. So that's a thing that I ran after. One more thing I want to say on this though is I'm obsessed with the idea of helping young kids realize that they could buy a fourplex and live in one and then rent out the rest and live for free. So my stepdaughter, she is a singer. And, one conversation we've had is, did you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger got to wait for the really good parts because he owned apartment buildings in LA? Like he didn't
I
feel
didn't know that.
pressure. Right. He
Okay.
didn't feel pressure to go take a crappy part because he had enough money coming in to fund his life. So if you work to fill this floor of
Yeah.
income to live your life, then you get an opportunity to design your life that is a life of your dreams. So the whole idea that if I have a billboard banging tables over is how do I help people realize they can build a floor of income and help them actually build that floor of income.
And I love that because financial independence to me is everything for anybody because you never have to marry who you don't want to. You don't have to go like take that job you don't want to. You don't have to compromise yourself.
Right.
How would you define legacy? Because I'm sure it's probably different than what you thought 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I live my life every day
Hmm.
by a filter of values, right? And when we formed this new kind of entity of a family, we sat everybody down and we decided everybody's going to pick one word that matters most to us of who defines us as what defines us as a new entity, family entity, right? So
Hmm.
we decided that, integrity, doing the right thing, being honest, always telling the truth, being, playful and having adventures and, contributing to the world around us. That is the filter that my five lives by. And
I
we
love it.
printed it out. It's in our entryway so that everybody who enters our house has to see the Peters family values. But,
Right.
I think what legacy is how do I live my life in such a way that it can be an example of what is possible? And then how do I distill that into these filters for the lives that I want to touch the most, these
Yeah.
kiddos? If you make a bad choice, we had a little situation where one of our kiddos made a not great choice, and the conversation at the dinner table was not like, you're in trouble. It's what was your decision making process there, right? So the legacy is, what is the decision making process? And that speaks
Right.
to how you live your life, getting yourself into the life of your dreams. That speaks to money. That speaks to all of the things
Mhm.
that matter to me. So what is your filter, and do you have an idea of how you're going to deal with problems when they come up?
Right. I love that. Everything is based on the decisions you choose in life and
Exactly.
everything. It's something nobody really talks about. They'll talk about so many other keywords out there, but decisions is one that is not a big keyword that needs to start being a keyword. Because a lot of
That's I
people
mean,
too,
yeah.
yeah, like to blame other
I look at
people too.
parenthood as teaching them how to make decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my whole job as their mom is to teach them not to need me. And one big, yeah, yes, teaching them how to tie their shoe and how to make
Yes.
pancakes, that
Yeah.
matters. But like the biggest things are, you are going to come up to life on
Mm-hmm.
something that is difficult. And when it is difficult, do you have the tools to know that you can do it, to believe in you, to be able to face that hard and know you can get through it? Right? Like
Right.
that filter, that matters so much.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm not a helicopter mom because I don't have time to be one.
I feel that hard, girl.
I mean, I just am very honest. Like when I meet with teachers at conferences, I'm like, let me know what's going on because I'm not the helicopter mom here.
I love
But
it.
that's why I have little independent people running around. um,
Leaders. You're making
leaders running
leaders, girl.
around, right? Exactly. And can figure out difficult problems. I haven't had to deal with a lot of the things I think a lot of people deal with because I don't I don't think for them.
Right. That's it. Like you're teaching them how to solve these problems.
Right.
There's different ways to look at that. You could choose to, beat yourself up for not being around as much as a woman who chooses to stay at home, or you can realize that you are arming them to be able to make decisions on their own by not helicopter momming. See, it's all that reframe.
It is. It is a big reframe. And like for me, I always carried that mom guilt really bad. And then I realized I think it's better I wasn't home because I would have just been a control freak controlling everybody or thinking I'm control. You can't control anyone, but you think you are.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I know we're going to round out a close here because I know we both have a hard stop. And I've got a couple closing questions for you. The first is for women listening, for any woman who's listening out there who feels successful but super exhausted, which we could both understand, how would you let her know? Like, what would you want her to hear from you that she's meant for more than that, just to be exhausted?
I had one of my catalysts of there must be a different way
Hmm.
was like a full panic attack in a hospital parking garage. Like there has to be a better way. I realized that to live my life, that
Hmm.
I needed dependable money coming in so that I could live by my moral compass.
Right.
So
Right.
what I would encourage that woman who feels very successful but exhausted is do the math for yourself
Mm.
and start looking for investment opportunities, especially in our world, Tori. If
Hmm.
someone is working adjacent to commercial real estate and is not investing in commercial real estate, my goodness, girlfriend, you have insider information. Why the crap are you not using it?
Right.
So I would first encourage you to dig a little deep on the why you're choosing not to
Hmm.
invest in this insider information that you've got. But then two, do the math on what it would take you to be able to, and it's not going to be what you think. I swear to you, every single time I challenge someone to do this exercise, let's say you're making
Using her
500 grand this
calculator.
year,
Right.
the calculator that I'm going
Yeah.
to give you a link to.
Yeah. Okay.
Do this for yourself, and you'll realize that that number is a lot lower than you think it is. And find deals that you can get into. When you see syndicators that are doing deals that you like and trust, and you see them have a good track record, get that information, underwrite it. You might be able to have a bigger depreciation against your active income if you are working in commercial real estate already. And one thing that I'm working to do, one way that I'm working to think differently and challenge myself here moving forward, is I bang these tables over floor of income. And I do these multifamily deals that throw off a cash flow, but I always say I don't raise capital, it's just my own money. I'm working to put together deals for this floor of income that we're not flipping it. We're not doing the value add type syndications where we get out in 3 or 5 years. We're doing this for a floor of income. So accredited investors that want to learn more about that, shoot me an email. I'm happy to talk about it.
Because you prefer long-term holds, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
what I want is that floor of income. And then
Yeah.
when that floor of income goes from 30 grand a month to 80 grand a month, 80 grand a month is $1 million a year.
Right.
Like that,
Right.
you can give and do and create experiences to the tune of whatever if you have 80 grand a month coming in.
So, what is the one belief you wish more women gave themselves permission to have?
Oh, this perfection thing.
I
I
figured you'd
see
see
it
that.
so often in GoBundance Women, and I see it so often when I've helped people buy small multis in previously. Yeah, the analysis paralysis. Like you know what you're doing. Why do you think you need a partner? If you have all this insider information, why do you think you need someone else? Why do you think you can't do it? Because you can't.
Right. Yeah, I love it. So, what's next for you personally, professionally, or with GoBundance Women?
So, a couple of things that I'm working on. That idea of how much money does it make me versus how much brain space does it cost me. I'm working on a book on that,
I
and
love it.
actually just created an app called returnonbrainspace.com that's going to be kind of a sister to that, for
That's
GoBundance
awesome.
Women at my motel property. Actually, we're going to do kind of a masterminding summit at the end of July.
Okay.
I'll get you the link on that too, but it's at Lumberjill Lodge/summit.
I just saw that come out, the email that you sent on it. That sounds really cool.
Awesome.
Can
Our girl Beth
anyone
is
go,
going to be there.
or is
If,
it just
you know,
people in GoBundance?
So we can have guests as well.
Okay.
So if you are someone who wants to fly into Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's about an hour from
Mhm.
Minneapolis, St. Paul. But
Okay.
it's we'll do like a hike the first day, and then a full day of programming. I actually rented the trolley in the town to do some wine tasting stuff, and then depart on the final day. So that will be really cool. And then I'm also working on finding deals that are this floor of income to help other people find that flexibility in their lives that they want to find.
That's amazing. You're doing such amazing, amazing things. I really have to give you a big, big round of applause because I think this is what every woman, I don't care, you don't have to be even in real estate, like needs to hear your story, what you're doing out there for women. And I think it's just so game changing. And I can't wait till your book comes out and in your app because I will definitely be checking those out. Um, but before we wrap up, I want you to tell listeners how they can find you and connect with you.
My website is mandymcallister.com. You can link to all social media and send me a message through there.
Okay. And also, people should listen to your podcast, Power Up Your Life, which is on Apple, Spotify. I listen to you on Apple, but I don't know what
Okay.
else you're on
It's on everything, but that's also linked to on my website. So
the
you could
website.
get
Okay.
links to all of those things there.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and thank you so much for being here today and taking the time, sharing your story, your unbelievable wisdom, and all the work you're doing to help others and be really a major servant leader out there, helping women create wealth and freedom and this amazing community. And, you're really creating, epic, epic lives for people out there. And I want to thank everyone who's listening today and for tuning into the Tori Nook Talk Show. And if this conversation resonates with you, please drop a line, DM me. All my social handles are at Tori Nook. And feel free to email me at torinook@gmail.com and click subscribe, rate, and review. And until next time.